the role of grammar and structures. In this lesson, we're going to talk about traditional approaches to learning grammar and how to approach learning grammar as a language learner, the role of grammar and structures. For a learner, please think of grammar as a toolbox. When we talk about grammar and structures, we usually think about rules. Think back to English class. Understanding all of our parts of speech. Did that really help you communicate? I do think it's very helpful to understand how language works. However, not understanding it is not going to hinder you from being able to communicate. So as a language learner, I'd like you to think of grammar as a toolbox, understanding verbs, understanding syntax, the order of a sentence. Those will help you become a better communicator. But again, not mastering grammar will not hinder you from communicating. You do not have to be a master of grammar to communicate well. The more you master it, the more effectively you'll be able to communicate. And we talked about Krashen's theories, which we'll go into more detail about. We all kind of move through them in the same phases of our language proficiency and language development. And mastering language, mastering grammar will happen later on. You just want to get communicating. So why is the traditional grammar and structure approach in foreign language textbooks wrong? Essentially, what's wrong is that sometimes they lead with grammar, meaning they make the assumption that if you understand the ins and outs of how to create different structures, so verbs and sentences and nouns and adjectives, that you're going to be able to communicate. It helps, but you're going to learn from that input that you acquired, whether that was through memorization or that natural acquisition that you got in a conversation from somebody. In short, don't lead with grammar. Lead with communication. When you start to have questions about how something works, that's when it's time to study grammar. You're going to understand it so much more quickly and you will have already applied it. So basically, in my experience as a teacher, I could spend 5 minutes presenting a concept after front-loading the group with lots of communicative examples, lots of comprehensible input, or I could spend a lot of time. I'll give you an example. Telling time tends to be a difficult concept for students. The syntax, the structure, culturally, I think I could explain it for the rest of my life. And they get it when I start with a simple bingo concept and keep providing them input. I do an entire day of games. I can then do a quick explanation and a grammar review worksheet, and they've got it. With regard to grammar and structures, think about communication. Again, focus firmly on communication, those different pieces. And when you focus on conversational and not the structure, learning becomes practical and fun. Learn and teach functional language first. What do you need to do? And then don't lead with that grammar, work backward. And I also want to say, it's really important, is that we weren't born speaking our native language perfectly. It took time and we made lots of errors. Please have that kind of compassion with yourself. You don't have to be a master of grammar to be able to greet somebody or enjoy speaking a new language. Again, you can dive into more depth in the documents. And we'll see you in the next lesson.